Before we start off today's video, if you guys would like to join my Discord server, link will be in the description and there will also be in the pinned comment. But anyway, enough of that, let's get right into the video. What's up guys, welcome back to another video. This here is the Nissan Micra. This is the 5th generation of Micra, also known as the K14. Now, like I said, it's the 5th, but let's just go through each of them and I'll tell you what I think of them. So here is the K10, this is the very first Micra. I frankly see this as a cheap Japanese box that's made of plastic. I see this, the K11, as a curvy box, I guess you could say, with a bit more style-ish. Then we have this one, the K12, I think. This one looks like a Beetle, and I'm not wrong on that one, that is actually a fact. Now this one did have a sporty version. Now I know you could say that the current one with the 1 litre 117 horsepower one is kind of like that, but personally I would have to disagree on that one. The sporty one was called the SR160, not because it had 160 horsepower, but because it had a 1.6 litre engine. But either way, the K13, to me this is the worst Micra because I feel like they made this because they had to, not because they wanted to. It was just cheap, bland, boring, and literally it was either, you could say, a step backwards or just not stepping forward at all. Either way, it was just absolutely dog shit. I hate this, but all is well with the modern Micra. But anyway, this is the best Micra generation for me, so let's see how the Micra fares. I would also like to say that the car does definitely look a lot bigger than the last one, and the last one didn't look much bigger than the one before that, so this definitely looks huge. So when it comes to the exterior, this frankly is a plus point for me with the Nissan Micra. So the front looks really angry and evil. You're probably thinking, what are you on about? But let me explain and then hopefully you'll see it for yourself. So with the lights and the grille, it kind of looks like that face where someone is angry or just evil looking, and their eyebrows and eyes are like angry looking, but they've got a smile on their face like they're evil and they've just planned something that will end the world. Matt Watson and Carwell kind of said it looks like a GTR, and I kind of see it with that silver running below the Nissan badge, but otherwise it's really cool. The angry smiley face, as creepy as it looks on a person, it adds to a cool design factor to the car. When it comes to the side, if you look at the front to let's say the B pillar in the middle, it kind of does look like an arrow, sort of sharp. It's mainly at the front where it kind of just moves out into the middle. That definitely adds a cool feature as well. Now when it comes to the rear half, you know, from the B to the C pillar onwards, how do I put this? It's a bit bland, but it's not bad. I like the way the lights stick out at the back, that's cool, which I'll get to in the rear. But something I don't like is that door handle up there. As you well know on the Suzuki Swift video, I'm personally not a fan of these kind of handles. You know, Suzuki do them, Nissan do them, Renault do them, Honda do them. Is there anyone else I'm missing? Either way, I mean, it just doesn't look right, and you have to have your hand in a certain position which is unnatural to human hand compared to how long we've had traditional door handles for and where they've been placed. And well, if you've got kids who want to go into the car because you let them and you've unlocked it, they won't be able to get in if they're too short for it. So that frankly isn't the best for me. The rear, well, like I said, the lights, they stick out, so that definitely adds some design. Someone obviously had some thought, had some good pencils, had something compared to the K13, which pretty much no one had anything. You got that fog light at the bottom, which, you know, I'm not really a fan of, but the boot lining is very angular and it also angles within the rear headlights. It does look like it's squat down as well, like it's ready to pounce, and I said that on the car before, I just don't remember which one. But you do have that black strip, which does look a bit cheap, but you know, I'll kind of let it off, to be honest, since I have a soft spot for it. By soft spot for it, I mean the car. When it comes to the interior, this is probably the longest interior section I've ever done. for a car. So it looks alright, you know, it's nothing special. I don't expect anything special from a Micra, but it is reasonably laid out. Your gauge cluster is reasonable, so is the fact that the gear lever is considerably higher up than, say, something with no separation. Sat nav is in a reasonable place, and it has got big volume buttons, but the other buttons, they do look a tad small and some look a tad big, so it's not the worst thing. Now, something I do care to mention is this: you could get the Micra in many colours on the interior. So you got this pale white beige, you got this very bright orange as if you'd just gone to the sun, you've got some purple maroon colour, if that's the right name for it, you got plain black suede colour, and you've got a very light blue, which I don't know how to feel about, despite blue being my favourite colour. When it comes to the performance, this is long, so I'll explain. The Micra had petrol and diesel engines, so it had a 1.5 litre turbo diesel that had around 88 horsepower, but there were many petrols to go for. There were 4 1 litre engines, 3 were turbocharged, 1 wasn't. The one that's naturally aspirated only had 73 horsepower, and that is definitely slow. I mean, unless you're an old person who wants a manual, frankly, just avoid that. Luckily, some of these engines didn't even last long, but either way, there was a 1 litre naturally aspirated available, and frankly, it just took too long to get to 60, couldn't even reach 100, so on the motorway it would feel like you were like trying to kill it. But when it comes to the turbo ones, you had 90 horsepower, 98 horsepower, and 115 horsepower, and I'll get to the 115 horsepower engine in the next slide. But also you had a 0.9 litre turbo with 3 cylinders. All these 1 litre and 0.9s are 3 cylinders, I forgot to mention that. I think this had around 90 horsepower, something like that ish. Now the 1 litre DIG-T engine, which had 115 horsepower, is actually a different engine to the 1 litre IGT engine, the one that has 98 and 90 horsepower. So what we're going to do is take one diesel engine, even though only one diesel engine was available, and take one petrol engine and then show you the specs of that. So first with the petrol engine, we have a 1 litre inline 3 cylinder with a turbo, 98 bhp and 106 pound-feet of torque. It is of course front wheel drive. The weight is all over the place. I do know it weighs more than a ton, so I can give you that. Specs are just everywhere frankly. The gearbox with this, you could either get a 5-speed manual or you could get a CVT automatic. Now of course CVTs, they drone when you accelerate, and frankly that is annoying and it is just draining on your brain and ears, so if you can avoid that, please do. And some engines had a CVT, some didn't have that automatic option, but either way, 0 to 60 for the manual was 10.6 seconds, for the CVT it was 12.6. Top speed for the manual was 114 miles an hour, top speed for the automatic was 110. And then for the diesel, we had a 1.5 litre inline 4-cylinder with a turbo, 88 horsepower and 162 pound-feet of torque. Of course, because it's diesel, it will have more torque. Of course, it is front wheel drive once again. The weight, again, all over the place, but a lot of them seem to say it weighs more than 1.1 tons, so we'll just have to take it on that. And it has a 5-speed manual gearbox. 0 to 60, 11.5 seconds, and the top speed is 111 miles an hour. Now I should let you know the 115 horsepower is the only one that had a 6-speed manual. When it comes to the practicality, the boot is actually on par with its rivals at 300 litres, so frankly there's nothing to worry about there, and the boot obviously folds 60-40, which is just traditional at this point. But when it comes to the rear, legroom was acceptable, but the headroom was quite tight. According to people on reviews, that sloping roof line, which I didn't even notice when I did the side profile, that obviously curves in and it makes it really tight. So frankly, 6-footers aren't going to be great, and children, well, they will bear with it, barely. When it comes to the handling, well, how do I put this? It was alright, it was decent, it wouldn't just fall apart like the lazy Micra before it. You know, it was composed. It did have stiff suspension, so it wouldn't just roll around. Obviously, because it had stiff suspension, the ride was considerably stiff. Obviously, it's not going to be good as a Fiesta. Obviously, the Fiesta is kind of king when it comes to small city car hatchback handling. But you know, it was composed, there was plenty of grip. Thankfully, it's not even a car you're gonna throw around, but if you wanted to, you know, you wouldn't have a terrible time. When it comes to anything else, well, of course, because Nissan is part of the Renault-Nissan group, now known as the Renault-Nissan-Mitsubishi group, both cars are pretty much identical underneath, they share the same platform. Now, of course, the Dacia Sandero is also based on a Clio, so there are many cars that share the same platform. But either way, you got Dacia, Renault and Nissan sharing the same platform, and they got sharing the same engines as well. Renault and Nissan do that to save money, and of course, Dacia do that as well. But what is the verdict? So the pros are, it has great exterior looks, the handling is decent enough with a decent boot, the legroom is just about acceptable, there are various engines to choose from, although some of them didn't last long. It had a decent interior and you had various interior colours to choose from. However, the cons are, the rear headroom was tight, that CVT whines when you accelerate, the ride is stiff because of the suspension that reduces the roll. That 1 litre is just deadly slow, the one with 73 horsepower, just avoid it at all costs. And the rear door handles are just stupid, I don't know why manufacturers do it, I just don't like it at all. But anyway, if you guys would like to check out my YouTube channel,
different types of Dyson spheres. Type 1 is to build a ring of orbits.
those are bloody lampshades, not bloody Dyson spheres.
Wirelessly transfer the energy back to the home planet. A Type 2 is to build a bubble of satellites around the
That's a
star.
golf ball. That's a golf ball now.
Of the light, but not all of it. And a Type 3 is to completely swallow the star with a solid shell of matter.
That's a disco ball.
100%.
I will leave a link to that in the description below. If you could subscribe to that, that would be great. Of course, doing my normal reaction videos and my YouTube shorts. Now normally I blur a car and I say, hey, guess it below. But someone in the comments of my Citroen C2 VTS video said, do more car videos, also review C3 please. Now they didn't answer my question on if they wanted the comment shown in the video, so I've shown the comment but I've deleted the name. But if you want to find that comment, then you can do so by looking at the C2 VTS video. So the next car is going to be the Citroen C3, so there's no surprises there. And of course, like this person did, leaving a comment in a video, you can also do the same. You can let me know in any video comment, as long as it's car review one, because then it's relevant, and then I will oblige and do it. But anyway, that is it, and I'll see you guys with the Citroen C3. Peace.